What's going on, guys? Billy here, and today I want to touch on a big selling point of the Mavic Mini, something that DJI is really pushing heavy with their marketing, and it's the fact that it only weighs 249 grams, which is great for brand new drone pilots. But as a lot of people have been asking on my YouTube videos in the comments is, why is this actually important, especially if somebody already owns a drone? So what I wanted to do today is bring in Russ from 51 Drones and have a discussion about the matter and sort of change up the monotony of these Mavic Mini videos and just sit down and talk. So Russ, how you doing?
Doing great, Billy. How are you doing?
Doing good. Thanks again for coming on the channel. The real reason that I wanted to ask you to come on is just because you've made so many great rules videos in the past about how to follow the FAA drone rules, whether you're a brand new drone pilot, whether you're somebody who's been in the industry or in the space for a long time. And I wanted to get your opinion on what you think of this drone being 249 grams is.
Well, first of all, Billy, thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it. I think, other than the weight, first of all, let me say something about the Mavic Mini. When it first was announced, I was like, oh, great. They're just trying to get a bunch of, new drone pilots into the market, trying to capture those people and then hopefully sell them a more expensive drone, as they move forward. And so when I got it, I didn't have a lot of expectations. And so I started flying it and I started realizing that this thing is an awesome little drone. It's very impressive for what it can do at such a light weight. And so yes, that 249 grams was a big selling point for DJI because, the biggest thing is you don't have to register it with the FAA. And I think that really appealed to a lot of people because there's a lot of people out there that don't want to give their information to the government or to the FAA or whatever. And so it was kind of nice for them to think that, I can fly this drone, I can do what I want, and I can fly where I want, and there's a lot of rules I don't have to follow. And that's kind of where the problem comes in.
Yeah, and do you think that the reason people don't want to register with the FAA is because they don't want to give over their information? I mean, something that's been popping up in the comment section is, yeah, it's great that this drone weighs 249 grams, but think about it, it's only $5. You input some information with the FAA and you're good to go. I mean, even if you didn't have to register the drone, even if it's lower than that 250 gram lower limit, you've still got to follow rules such as not flying in controlled airspace, not flying over people, not flying over 400 feet. So if you really think about it, you're only getting around having to spend the $5.
That's right. I mean, I understand not wanting to give your information out to the federal government, but it's so simple. And if the federal government wants to find you, they're going to find you anyway. Registering your drone, it's not that much adding to your information because it's not that in depth. It's not that private. The information that you're providing is general information that you could Google about anyone. And so I think the fear, is unwarranted in that regard. Now, as far as the rules that apply to the Mavic Mini, there really isn't any changes as far as what you can do, how you can fly it, where you can fly it, and anything like that. And so I think that is a big misconception where, it's 249 grams. Now I have a little more freedom to do what I want to do. But the fact is the rules that apply to any other drone still apply to the Mavic Mini, even at 249 grams.
Yeah, and you know what? I think it's great that DJI is trying to bring in a ton of drone pilots, and I think you mentioned this in the beginning, and you hit the nail right on the head. They're trying to get people into this hobby to then upgrade to more expensive drones that you would then need to register. In a recent video that I posted about the Mavic Mini, I talked about the potential of like a Mavic Mini Pro or a Mavic Mini Plus or whatever they might call it. Imagine if you had a drone of that body style that had a better camera, had bigger motors, potentially had a bigger battery, had obstacle avoidance. I mean, that little drone would be so great, and you would obviously have to register it because it'd be over 249 grams, but there's a lot of people, especially probably subscribed to both of our YouTube channels, that already own a drone, and it really doesn't matter if they don't have to register it because they're already registered. So what do you think about like a Mavic Mini Plus? Because I know a lot of people said, well, that could be like the Mavic Air, but it's so much smaller than the Mavic Air. So
Right. Yeah, I think the Mavic Mini Plus is definitely a possibility. It's probably in design or even done already.
I wouldn't say it's a possibility. I would say it's more of like something that I wish and something I hope that they do.
Sure.
But just that small little body style, if they could add a little bit more functionality, potentially charge a higher price for somebody who doesn't care about getting around the registration. I mean, at the end of the day, if you buy each drone, you're going to be following the same, rule set. And just having more functionality in that drone would be so awesome because it's such a perfect size.
Yeah, I think the one thing that would make the biggest difference is the obstacle avoidance, because this is targeting new pilots. And new pilots need obstacle avoidance. I mean, speaking from experience myself, starting out with the Mavic Pro, that obstacle avoidance saved me, I don't even know how many times now, but I mean, within the first week, obstacle avoidance saved me. And so, marketing towards those new pilots, if they could put that on another version of the Mini, that would be pretty cool.
Yeah, I remember seeing an article from Drone DJ when the Mavic Mini rumors first started coming out saying that it wouldn't have obstacle avoidance, and I said, all right, well, this is definitely wrong. I don't know how they wouldn't have obstacle avoidance, and lo and behold, it ships without any sensors other than the ones on the bottom, and it seems like they've had to make a lot of these cuts in order to get it under 249 grams, and you know what? It's great, again, for those beginner drone pilots coming in and the people that are just going to start flying drones, but for somebody like you and I, for the people who've been following our channels for a long time now, it's kind of like, man, I wish this drone could do more, even though it's already very capable.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's just little things that we're spoiled on, like for someone that's just getting the Mavic Mini, it's a great drone to start with. And so we need to look at it from a new pilot's perspective, in that this is pretty impressive for the price point and for everything that this little drone can do.
Absolutely. The price point, the size. You posted a video recently, I guess in lieu of the Mavic Mini coming out, regarding forest fires, right? So I guess if you could give like one piece of information to anybody who's going to be buying the Mavic Mini as their first drone, what would you give them from, like an FAA standpoint, from a rule following standpoint?
Well, that's one of them for sure. Don't fly over emergencies. I mean, it's just innate in us to want to see what's going on. When we see an accident or when we see something going on, we want to know what's happening. I mean, that's the way of the world now. And so interfering with emergency personnel is probably the worst thing that you could ever do. Yes, flying above 400 AGL, getting into airspace that you shouldn't be, flying amongst air traffic, that's a big deal. But I think flying over emergencies is bigger, because you're talking about major saving of lives and property and everything. And so just stay away from any kind of emergencies as much as you can, and then follow all of the FAA rules that apply to any other drone. I mean, it just comes down to common sense. I wish it was as easy as that, but seriously, it's just common sense.
Yeah, there's two more things that I've got on my mind to discuss. The first one is line of sight. Obviously, you've flown the drone. There's been a lot of people who fly this drone. When you get it out 1,000 feet, you can't see it.
Right.
It's tough to see. Now, I noticed that the little lume cube can fit on the bottom, but during the day, it's still kind of tough to see that strobe. So I guess it's not even a question for you. I mean, I'm just kind of making a general statement here that keeping line of sight with that drone is very tough because it's so small. And also the color being like a grayish white, you kind of lose it in the sky. I almost wish they made it a black. It would be easier to see. Yeah,
you could see it easier. I did, one of my videos, I did see how far I could get it out on a cloudy day, and it was 1,100 feet, and I could just barely see a speck in the sky. And so if it were black, you could definitely see it on those overcast days. But yeah, I think people are always going to want to see how far it can fly. I mean, how many range tests have we seen already on the Mavic Mini? And it's not just, it's just, again, it's curiosity. They want to know how far can they push the limits of this drone.
Yeah, well, I was one of those people, and it flew pretty far. It was really great. I was really impressed with the Wi-Fi transmission system. I mean, at any distance, it holds up really well. And in terms of line of sight, if you're flying and you're 1,000 feet out, and if you take your eye off the drone for just a second to look down at the controller, and you bring your head back up, you're like, all right, where is this thing? Because it's so hard to see. Now, in talk of the airspace, there's no way to unlock a geozone as of right now with the Mavic Mini. And I saw you tweet about this. I guess you're in the vicinity of an airport where you live at, and you're unable to unlock with the Mavic Mini.
Yep, that's right. There's a very small airstrip. It's a grass airstrip, about 1.5 miles, almost 2 miles away from my home. And it's a guy who has, I think he has a crop duster. And so he has a a little grass airstrip in his yard. So that qualifies as an airport. And so my other drones I can unlock. I can go online, I can self-unlock, and I can fly. You can self-unlock for 3 days. And so every 3 days, if I want to fly, I have to, kind of plan ahead. But with the Mavic Mini, I've been unable to fly from home. I have been able to, honestly, what I've done is I've launched from my house inside, and then I fly it out the patio door, and then I'm able to fly around. I can fly for 99 seconds. It gives you 99 seconds, and it says you are in an NFC. You have 99. In 99 seconds, the drone will auto land. So it gives me a minute and a half to fly around a little bit because it doesn't capture those GPS until it gets outside. So yeah, that's pretty funny. A little hack there for you.
I remember Ken and I were talking about this. Do you think it's a feature they'll add? Like, do you think they'll allow you to unlock these in the future?
Yes, I do. I actually tweeted out to DJI support, and they said that a future update will have the self-unlock feature on the Mavic Mini. Yep.
Good.
So it's coming.
Yeah, good. All right, well, look, 249 grams doesn't matter. I think not as much as people would have to think, right? I mean,
sure.
If you're somebody just getting into drones, yes, it could potentially matter. You don't have to worry about registering. You can just get your drone and fly and have some fun. But you'll soon realize that it's really not that big of a deal.
Right.
And this is a video I really wanted to make just because I think there's a lot of people that have the same exact question. And I think the biggest question that we can answer throughout this video is, even though it is under 250 grams at 249, you do still have to follow the rules. And speaking of the rules, Russ over on his channel just posted, or at the same time that this is going live, is posting a rules video regarding the Mavic Mini. So Russ, is there anything you want to say about that real quick?
I think my goal is for people to gain the information, because when I started, I was clueless, completely clueless. 3 years ago, never flown a drone or any kind of RC, and I didn't know of the rules. And so I made a lot of mistakes. I flew a lot of places that I shouldn't have and did a lot of things that I shouldn't have. And I feel really bad, but just the ignorance that I had made me really want to see what the rules were, because I wanted to comply as much as I could, because number one, I don't want to get a phone call or email or someone at my door. I don't want to pay a fine, a hefty fine. And most importantly, I don't want anyone to get hurt. And so I want people to be aware of the rules. The Mavic Mini is especially more important because these are going to be, for the most part, it's going to be people that have never flown a drone like I was 3 years ago. So I want to pass that information on. I want to make it as succinct and detailed as possible and not take up too much of people's time. So I want to get the general information out there. So when you're getting to flying, you know what to do and how to behave appropriately when you're in the sky.
Yeah, and I think that's great. I remember Ken and I were driving up from Florida, and we watched one of your tutorials, online as we were driving, and it's really hard to make sense of some of the language that the FAA uses. So for you to be able to put it in language that other people are able to understand, I think that's the reason that they're so well received. So guys, go ahead and check out Russ's channel. I'm going to leave a link down in the description. You can go ahead and check out that video he posted if you've got the Mavic Mini. Definitely a good one. But yeah, guys, thanks for tuning in. Russ, thanks for coming on. And I think that you know what to say.
Thanks, Billy. Have a great day, everyone, and peace.
See you guys.